It'd be great. Excuse me.
A little higher.
I'm 150. What's next after 150?
Well, let's see. The problem is that as I go up, it's going to go off the screen. But let's see.
Right. Okay, let's stay there.
Hang on.
Thank you, Doc. Thank you.
Okay, see, now it's getting wider. Okay, how about that? Can y'all see that?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, then we'll leave it that way.
All right, I sent it over, Tracy.
Okay, I'm just waiting on it to come through. Okay, I have it posted. Let me go verify that it is working. Live committees, RT, live stream. You're good to go.
All right, we'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. Please note any comments by the public are welcome and can be emailed to publiccomment@lsbme.la.gov. Melissa, please confirm you verified the identity of all tele and video conference participants.
There's actually one in the waiting room.
Do we know who's in the waiting room?
He's in now.
Okay, thank you.
And
Does
you
it
have
sound
a
clear?
comment at this time, Mr. Raymond?
Okay. Diana, would you go ahead with the roll call, please?
Yes. Raymond Peasany,
Present.
Mirandino, present. Michael Nolan,
Present.
Blake Nolan,
Present.
Brett Stafford,
Present.
Sheila Guidry,
Present.
Jim Lenahall,
Present.
Dr. Hugo. I see him on. He's muted. And then from the LSBME, we've got Dr. Van,
Present.
Jacinta,
Jacinta is out of the country on vacation. Melissa's running the meeting today.
Melissa. Sorry, it just says Zoom. Melissa Genders. Okay. Tracy Morrow,
Yes, ma'am.
Phyllis Johnson,
Yes.
Lauren Suduth, and then I have a Jay Smith.
It's Jessica Smith.
Jessica.
Okay.
Present.
Okay. We have a quorum with the LSBME members.
Thank you. All righty, we'll move into
You have
is
no
there any
public
public
comment.
comments? Okay, we'll move into the public session. We have the minutes from the previous minutes that's attached in your packet.
Didn't get that.
I'm sorry, did you say something, Sheila?
I did not get the minutes.
The minutes were in the cloud.
Cloud share.
Cloud share, excuse me.
Okay.
Keep me corrected.
Okay.
They're up on the agenda on the screen if you want to look at them.
Or stop. Right there, I want to read. Okay.
All right, do I have a motion to accept the minutes as presented?
I make the motion.
I'll
Michael,
second.
do I have, was that Blake?
Yes, sir.
All right, second, any further discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Uh,
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
All righty, we'll move on to item 2 on our agenda, the rule changes. As I sent out in 2 previous emails, you received a clean copy of the revisions and a previous one where the scratch outs were, strike throughs, excuse me. So at this time, we're not going to go over every page. I asked everyone to review it, and if there's anything that needs to be brought up, then at this time we'll discuss it.
I have
I
a
have
few things.
Okay, Michael, I
Right,
see.
Mike.
Section 2537. Okay, this is the clean copy. Let me think here. Under 2537A, an applicant will be deemed to have successfully passed a registered respiratory therapy credentialing. The word registered, do we have to have that?
No, that is incorrect, and correct me if I'm wrong, anyone. It's a certification exam that we're going by.
Yeah.
That's the minimal level of
What?
competency.
Delete registered.
Why don't we just say pass the certification examination as required by the National Board for Respiratory Care?
That's fine.
That or entry level exam, that's what the NBRC calls it.
Mhm.
I thought they changed it to a cut score, and
It's the
It's the
entry
same
level
test.
exam with a minimal cut score.
but again, it is the same test they take, and it's just how they do in this test, determines what they get, correct? So
It is.
why don't we just say deemed to have successfully passed the National Board for Respiratory Care certification examination, period, and that's what we give them.
Any further discussion on
Lauren,
that
did you get that?
topic?
Yeah, I got it. And so I made the changes into the scratch through one.
Okay, good enough.
Section 2549. B10. B is in Bravo. 10. Reimbursement. Whoa, boy. Receive reimbursement in the amount of $75 per day for attendance at the meeting of the advisory committee and other activity expenses specified authorized by the board. Shouldn't we put in the form, the expense form, receive reimbursement via the expense form and the amount?
Well, why don't we just, for example, we do not reimburse for Zoom meetings because there's no travel and stay and out of
Right.
work. So why don't we just say receive reimbursement in the amount of $75 per day for in-person attendance at meetings in accordance with state policies applicable at the time.
Yeah, there needs to be some support evidence for the request, right?
Well, that's what in accordance with the state requirements,
Okay.
if they change it, we'll change it, and that way we don't have to change the rules.
Okay. No, I'm fine with that. I just this is in effect now, Doc.
Yeah, basically, right now we're using a paper form, but I will tell you that, people at the state are telling me that they're emulating what we're doing, and they're going to all kind of online stuff to do with this much more transparent, much quicker, and much easier for everybody to get the data. So when that's going to happen, I don't know, maybe another 3 years, but if they change anything and they change the forms, that way it'll be the form that's applicable at the time and the system that's applicable at the time.
Okay. Has our expense form for the reimbursement within this agency changed? Or
At this time, no, it has not changed yet.
Okay.
But again, right now, if you were to submit a reimbursement for this meeting, you wouldn't get it because we do not reimburse for Zoom meetings. We reimburse for in-person meetings.
Gotcha.
I have
Okay.
I have a comment on this. I realize what you're saying, Dr. Van. I know we've gone over this before. I just have to say, my opinion, this states for the attendance at meetings of the advisory committee. You know, we're not physically face to face. We didn't drive to a meeting, but we still give up a lot of our time doing this. All these meetings that we've had, revising the rules and regs. I have to be considerate, I think, to especially the people that are still working, that are away from their jobs right now for this meeting. For instance, especially Dr. Hugo, whose patients can't be seen during this time. The money that he's losing. Raymond, as a department manager, has over several areas in his hospital, giving up time from his hospital work. Diana at school. I just feel that some compensation should be made to the time that everyone is given up. Not that I don't need the money. It's just the principle of it.
Well, certainly we can.
Unfortunately, the law that was passed that allows these sorts of meetings actually specifically precludes it. I was just looking to make certain because I didn't think that would be like an us regulation. Apparently, the legislature said no member of a public body who participates in a meeting via electronic means shall be eligible to or receive per diem for attendance at the meeting. So that would have to be that's in the open meetings law. That applies to all public bodies that have Zoom meetings, unfortunately. But I definitely agree because y'all have put in a ton of work on this.
And there's no way that we could protest that?
I mean, y'all could talk to the legislature to get it changed at subsequent, legislative sessions, but it would take a law change.
Well, yeah, the more and more meetings are going to Zooms. The few organizations I'm active in, they're all the same. More and more Zoom.
No, I agree there's more and more Zoom, but the money that's, excuse my expression, spent in this state on other things, I feel when you have a group of people who's giving of their time, volunteering to do work for the public, for the safety of the public, that they should receive some type of reimbursement.
Lauren, can you send out the section of that law where we can find it? I think that's going to be another discussion another day if we want to. Again, it's going to take from what I'm hearing, it's going to take a legislative change.
So
we'd have to be
4217.2. That's Louisiana Revised Statute 42:17.2. That's not in any of our laws. That's the open meetings law. So that's what regulates all meetings.
Okay.
And this would be something that your association could do.
Yeah.
It would not be something that we can go to do that, but again, we're constrained very honestly by the fact that we haven't had a fee increase since 2000, and I don't know if we're going to get one this year. But I mean, we're happy to go with y'all to talk about the meeting. But these were laws that were set up, and nobody seemed to object to them at the time. And the only way you would be able to do something about it is to go best way to do it is to go ahead and get your association to get involved and go and change the law to get reimbursed for the Zoom meeting. I see that Mr.
Jim?
Jim has his hand
Yeah.
up, stopped off.
Jim?
Yeah, I have a question. Thank you for the floor. As most of you all know, I just recently joined this committee, but I'd like to ask the question is, so is there a law that this committee never meets in person?
No, it's not a question of not meeting in person, but it is much to the benefit of the expense because of travel, hotel, and everything else. In our tight budget, we're doing everything I was instructed by the board to cut all costs and do, because like I said, we were turned down for a fee increase the last couple of years, and we have not been able to get a fee increase, and we are eating up our reserves. And we want to continue to provide the level of service we provide to our licensees. I know, our data looks much better than it's ever looked before in terms of the time to licensing and those kind of issues. And I think, you see your newsletters, we're putting the times to licensing in our newsletters. They're coming across the board. If you average it across all 15 of our license classes, it's under 20 days from initial application to licensing. And I think the key here is that it's, we are stretching the envelope and pushing the envelope so much in terms of what we can do to provide good service. But concomitantly, we're not being able to charge for it. And so I think that right now the board has asked us to do all of these meetings this way. I think that if the licensees want to change it, they can change the law, and we're happy to follow the law. But every time, again, we have not been able to offset some of the costs. Now, hotels in New Orleans are getting more and more expensive. Travel reimbursements are going up. And again, it's not that we don't want you to get paid. We appreciate all the work that you do, but it's the cheapest way for the agency to provide the service that it's doing, and that's what we're trying to do.
Can I ask another question, please?
Sure.
So it's not against the law for us to meet in person.
Correct.
Could we possibly meet in person once a year? I don't understand why it has to be in New Orleans if it's so expensive.
Well, because if we move the staff out of New Orleans, that costs money too. I don't think anybody wants to not be in New Orleans. It's a question of where, we can have those meetings, but the board has asked us not to do it right now. It's not a question of the law in that regard. It is the board asking us to cut costs at every possible way.
Okay. So can I ask one final question?
Sure.
I'm sorry. I'm just trying to get 3 questions answered, and I don't need a real long, just a yes or no will do. So can we request from whoever you have to request it from for us to meet on an annual basis in person? I'd like to meet the rest of these people. I'd like to meet you. I've never have. And that's just a request from myself. Can you do that?
We certainly can put that before the board. If you give me a resolution today, I'll try and get it on the agenda for the meeting later this month. It would be, something the board would have to take up, and then they would tell me what to do, and we were happy to honor their request.
So, Jim, would you like to propose a resolution at this time?
I'm not familiar with your resolution process.
You make a motion.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go. Yeah, I'd like to make a motion that the LSBME Respiratory Care Advisory Committee be allowed to meet on an annual basis.
Do I have a second?
Whoa.
Oh, hold on.
Their meeting is different than in-person meeting or having an in-person meeting.
Okay, thank you.
And I think that if you want to make it, I would advise you to use the following language. I would tell you to move that the LSBME allow the Respiratory Care Advisory Committee to have at least one in-person meeting a year.
Thank you.
Do I have a second on that motion from Jim?
I second.
Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Dr. Collada, would you put that on the next agenda, please?
It's on the agenda we'll get it on. Melissa's going to make sure it gets on there, and Jacinta is not here, but she'll get it when we put the agenda. And I'll be sending an email to her to put that on the agenda.
Thank you, sir. Let's see, I lost where we were. Mike, do you have any other?
Yes, but I don't want to, other people may have some questions, but just for not at this time, Raymond.
This is our time to get them all done. So, I mean, if you
Yeah,
have
yeah.
them, speak up now, because if we could finish this today, we could get it on the agenda, the
Right,
next board
right.
I
meeting.
understand. I
Yeah,
understand.
my goal is to, discuss everything that you have so we can, get this to the next step.
Okay. Nothing at this time, Raymond.
Okay? Anyone else has something that they'd like to discuss in the rules and regs?
I do.
Sheila, okay?
Okay, start with page 4, 2507. B, where it reads, an applicant previously licensed to practice respiratory therapy in another state, which is telling me not in this state, correct?
Correct.
Who has not held such a license, blah, 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 blah. Okay. Am I reading that correctly by what Mike spoke about? No, I'm sorry. The minutes that we're looking at right now reads that
Whoa, you said you want to look at the minutes or you want to look at the?
no. I'm referencing the minutes that's on the screen with number B.
On the screen is the proposed rules.
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry. The minutes that was up there.
You want to
Read.
go to the minutes?
I'm going to reference something from the minutes that said that the exempting the 4-strike rule at the last meeting for in-state.
Yes,
That's in a different section, if I'm not mistaken.
yes. But basically, that is a procedural thing. The board has always had a 4-strike rule.
Correct.
Now it's going to procedurally, for if you have never been licensed or not a citizen of the United States or graduate of a Louisiana program, this is really for our Louisiana graduates. It's what it's designed to be. And that's a procedural issue, not a rules issue. If you want to make it a rules issue, then it would never be able to be changed. And I think the board wants a little bit of flexibility, but you can put it anywhere you want it. But right now it says we're already doing it without the rule change. We don't need a rule change to do it. But if you want to put it in the rules, certainly you can put it in the rules. But then, if the board wants to do something different, we'll have to have a rule change. Or you want to do something different, it'll have to have a rule change. But
No.
right now, if a Louisiana graduate who's a Louisiana citizen needs 9 passes, we're going to give them a license. If they're from out of state, they'd still have the 4.
Okay. So we've done away with the 4-strike rule for Louisiana. We're just not putting it in writing in this.
Right. It's just a procedural issue in the board processes. But if you want to put it in the rules, we can.
Well,
Lauren, didn't we put that somewhere in the rules? I'm trying to look for it.
I think we did. Let me share my screen so we can share the
let me
scratch
get out-
through.
I'll
I got it.
Put your in. Let me go. Let you go, Lauren. Go ahead.
Okay.
Because that rule right there is different than the 4-strike rule, Sheila, I think you're talking about.
okay.
And I'll give you my thoughts on why that section was there.
Thought we did. I mean, I know we did.
You just had it up on the screen.
No, I know that was a different section though.
Okay.
2547 addresses the 4-strike.
Was the temporary permit 2547?
2547. Number 2, BI.
47.
Right there, you got it.
Yeah, that's the temporary permit when we were discussing that, but like this probably won't be used anymore because we're not
Okay.
giving them anymore, right?
Because,
Moving
yeah,
away from temporary permits.
yeah,
Right.
I was also gonna call your attention, Lauren, to, under that same 2547, 4B, we took it out. It was 4B,
Mm-hmm.
Yes, it's
Yeah, we
scratched
took
out.
it out there, and then
Right.
we also discussed like putting in this issued in extraordinary circumstances, but I think we decided not to put that wording in there because we didn't want to limit ourselves to the emergency extraordinary circumstances. We just have this in here, but like procedurally, they're not going to be issuing them.
Okay, so we deleted it there, but we're not deleting it under 2BII. Up further
We
up.
should, yeah, let's get rid of it there too then.
Yeah.
Good catch.
Okay.
Right? I think that's right.
27.
Okay. Whatever is next.
Okay. Page 5, 2515. It's just wordsmithing. Okay. Says the rules of this subchapter govern the procedure and requirements applicable to application to the board for licensure of the licensed respiratory therapist. Would it not sound better for it to say the rules of this subchapter govern the procedures and requirements for application to the board for
Yeah.
license?
Agreed.
Yeah, it just kind of
It's
didn't sound
redundant.
right to me. Okay. And then page 11, 2565. That's just a typo of licensure.
Applicant for renewal of
Of
licensure.
licensure, yeah.
Wait, what do we need it to say?
Oh, it's just that of licensure needs to have a space there.
Oh, I think it might just be yeah, it has one.
Okay, on my copies it doesn't. Okay.
Yeah, however it's spaced on there, it looks like it's really close
Okay.
together.
When I printed it out, it's all together. Okay.
Yeah. Are we on two different pages?
That's 12. It is page 12, not 11.
Oh, yeah. I'm on the copy that I highlighted everything on, the clear copy. I'm sorry.
Yeah, if you go by the section number, it should be easier to find.
Yes.
Okay.
Because they'll be different than on this, because the one that y'all might have, if you have the clean copy, that's going to be in different pages than this, because it says all the scratch throughs.
Mhm. Okay, page, let's see, 14. I guess it's going to be 14 on both copies. It's 55. I'm sorry, 25. Oh, hold on a second. Training from 2507. I mean 5507. Page 14.
Mm-hmm.
5507. A1. Okay, this is pertaining to people working in United States government institutions.
Yeah.
Okay. I realize that we have, okay, this is a prohibition here, exempting them from having a license to practice, as long as they're practicing within the course and scope of such employment. I have a problem. Let's see. We go to 2510C on page 5. It states, any military training in the field of respiratory care that is recognized by CORE or would allow the individual to obtain registered respiratory therapy credentials would be eligible for license. So we're saying here that they have to, whatever military training they have, has to have been recognized by CORE so that they can get their credentials from the NBRC to be eligible for licensure in this state.
That's correct.
Correct. Okay. But then we're saying that we are allowing them to practice without a license.
No, we're allowing them to
Employed-
practice without a Louisiana license.
I'm
So
sorry.
when, I guess the way to think of it is like if they did their training in the military and it's recognized by that, we'll recognize that as training for licensure. But if they're from like Milwaukee or something and licensed in that state and then come down to work in, the VA New Orleans, they don't have to get a Louisiana license if they're working only by like through the federal government.
We do not regulate federal employees in federal installations doing federal duties, okay? That says in scope and course of their work at the VA hospital. So the VA may have what happens as a matter of course, so you'll understand. VA may say, okay, you're licensed in Milwaukee, in Wisconsin, come down here, and they use on the basis of their Milwaukee license, they put them to work in the federal institution. We don't require them to have a license to work in that federal institution. But if they decide to moonlight at your private hospital, they got to have a license in Louisiana.
It's my understanding we're not allowed to regulate them
Right.
federally.
Exactly.
Just like me, if I wanted to go work for a U.S. Attorney's office in Colorado, I wouldn't have to get a Colorado bar license because I'd be working for the feds and I'm licensed in Louisiana.
But because you have a license in Louisiana, you can work over there.
Right. I would need to be licensed somewhere.
Somewhere.
But if
Exactly.
you're licensed, if you're working for the Fed, because they can like move you around their system with such, ease, I guess.
Correct. Okay.
Okay, hold on one sec, Sheila. I got Jim that wants to comment, then Diana. Jim?
Sheila, the word is exclusively in that sentence.
I know.
That's the key.
I know.
Diana?
Go ahead.
Okay, and so this is how I'm looking at it. If I was in the military and I was a medical corpsman, Sheila, and I worked a lot in the military with respiratory type patients and ventilators and critical care and all this kind of stuff, and I did that for 10 years. I get out of the military and the VA wants to hire me based off of my work, they can. They can't call me a licensed respiratory therapist because what I did in the military, and I'm just making this up, what I did in the military did not meet NBRC requirements to take and set for a board exam. Okay. However, if I was in the military, if I was able to enroll in a program that was COARC accredited, those credits would be recognized by the NBRC and I could go out and get my credential. And the VA could hire me, but now I'll tell you what I've heard, but I haven't checked with them lately. But the state cannot overrule federal guidelines. So I still may not need a license to practice in the state of Louisiana. However, at one time, and this has been years ago, I think the director at VA was asking that all of his employees carry a Louisiana license, even though they don't have to. But I think he had made that part of the employment. So the bigger picture here is the person in the military, did they get training for respiratory through an accredited means, or were they trained on the job and had worked on this job for 10, 15 years, and when they got out of the service, the VA picked them up to continue setting up oxygen or giving handheld nebs, which is what they did in the military. Those don't have to be licensed.
Okay, I understand that. Let's go back to the layperson off the street, not a veteran, okay? So you have the VA in New Orleans, okay? Somebody walks off the street, says they went to respiratory school, okay? Maybe even have proof that they graduated from a program, but does not have a license in Louisiana. They, for some reason, was not granted a license. Would they be allowed to practice there? Are we going to allow them to practice?
Okay, we are
They
not.
have
allowed
their
them to
own
practice. That's a
credentialing
VA
system.
decision.
So how do y'all know how nurses are handled and doctors are handled in VA? Not
Like I'm telling you, if the VA hires them as a doctor, they're responsible for them. We don't regulate them until they decide to go moonlight outside of the VA.
So we could possibly have doctors working at VA hospital and nurses that are not licensed.
In Louisiana, absolutely.
I think that's highly unlikely for that to happen. They have their own regulatory system and they have their own rules that govern who's allowed to work there and when and in what scope and whatnot. And so, like, it's my understanding that they require licensure of some sort. It's just that we can't, as a state, we can't prescribe regulations onto the federal system. So we have to just regulate within our realm of, authority, which are our licensees.
Okay. So with all that said, I spoke to an employee, a respiratory therapist, who worked at VA, who just recently retired, worked there 15 years. And I questioned this person as to whether they had to have a license. And he said, yes. When he was hired, they wanted to see his license. And every year since then has had to prove to them that he has fulfilled the 10 hours of CEUs that we require. Otherwise, he will lose his job, which I was very excited to hear. Okay. That was that department manager that required that. Now, a new department manager could come in and maybe wouldn't require it. Okay. Because we're also letting them practice without CEUs. According to this person, he had been turning in his CEUs and getting his CEUs every year to the Board of Medical Examiners for renewal. And some employee, a fellow employee, told him, "Oh, you don't have to do that here. We're not required to have CEUs." And, he questioned it and they said, yes, all you have to do is go to HR, have them give you a letter stating that you are employed by the VA, and the LSBME will let you get your license without CEUs. So he tried it and they were right. Y'all allowed him to renew his license without CEUs. So is that correct?
We have an exemption for military people. I do not think it's a VA exemption, okay?
Yeah.
Okay, and again, I'll be happy if you will send me the exact name offline out of the public domain. I will research it and get back to you personally and to Raymond. Technically, there's a military exemption. There is not a VA exemption, okay? So people in the military are exempting from doing their CEUs while they're on active duty.
Okay.
We do not consider VA active duty because we do not regulate VA at all.
Mhm.
Now, VA can hire them, okay, but I don't think we would require, in order to renew a Louisiana license, they would have to fit one of our exemptions for CEUs, and I can pull that for you and get back to you, but I need to look at the exact case to know what happened, and I can't
Sure.
address it without specifics.
Sure, sure. And this person is not ex-military. This person is civilian.
Again, my licensing analyst may have made a mistake and
Mhm.
assumed they were asking for the military exemption.
Correct.
But again, without specifics, I cannot tell you, okay, what went on. If you will send me a name and a date of birth, I will find out and get back to you and Raymond,
Sure,
privately, to tell you what happened.
sure.
But again, if they want to maintain, if the VA wants them to maintain a Louisiana license, they have to meet Louisiana license criteria,
Okay.
okay?
So even though 2569, even though it reads that a respiratory therapist employed exclusively by or at an institution operated by the United States is exempt from CEUs, this means veterans, not just
Doesn't mean
regular
veterans. It's supposed to be active duty. But
Okay.
let
Then
me go back.
I wish that would state that right there. Is there any way we can?
Again, I don't think that this is an exemption from CEUs. This is an exemption from being disciplined for practice without a license in Louisiana.
Mhm.
Okay, this is not exempting them. Lauren, correct me. This is not exempting them from doing their CEUs if they want to maintain a Louisiana license.
Yeah, so it says right above it in A, the prohibitions of 5505A shall not apply to a person, and A right above it it says no person shall engage in the practice, yada yada, unless he's in the possession of a current license or temporary work permit issued by the board. So this is
All right.
exempting them from working without a license issued by the LSBME. So in those situations, as we were talking about, would be if someone came over from like Virginia and worked in the VA system. They might be required to have a license, which I imagine that the VA does. I was Googling real quick, and it does seem to say that they have to maintain a license. And they would have to maintain the whatever qualifications of that state in which they were originally licensed. But they would be able to work in Louisiana with a Virginia license, whereas a normal person who went to work at Ochsner, couldn't just say, hey, I'm licensed in Virginia, so I'm working here now. But we've allowed that in the VA system, or the federal system.
Correct.
But this is not an exemption for CEUs.
Mhm.
But that's not what it's saying, and that's not how they're interpreting it.
Well, again,
Under
the
2569.
specifics of the case have to be addressed. We may have made a mistake, okay? I can't tell you, and I'm not responsible for what HR and your VA tells their people. I'm only responsible for the actions of requests by my board members and licensee analysts, so I will address it and if you take it under advisement and fix it if there's a mistake.
Okay, I'll get you that information.
Yeah, the 2569 says that we're not requiring it for someone who's employed exclusively by or an institution operated by the government. I mean, now that you bring it up, like we probably don't even need that because we're not licensing them. So how would we even require it? I mean, I guess some people would work at the New Orleans VA that could be licensed by us.
Yeah, because I was even thinking, why don't we just take that out? But
I mean,
that way they'd have to follow the same rule that everybody else follows. As far as
Again, 5509, you said, is that?
No, 2569, which is the exception to the CEUs.
2559, you said?
69,
69.
A1.
It said, because we had taken out, it says currently, the CEUs prescribed by this chapter for renewal shall not be applicable to. It was, people who are working in the US government. And then also 12 months, a respiratory therapist who is within the 12 months prior to the date of renewal been credentialed by the NBRC on the basis of examination, and we took that out. Can you all still see my shared screen? I was like moving around, so
We
I
can
didn't
share
know.
your shared screen.
Okay.
Mhm.
So now it only says shall not be applicable to a respiratory therapist employed exclusively by or an institution operated by the government. We can take out this whole section if we want to.
I'd like to do that.
Discussion?
Because if we take that out, it's not like we're putting an undue influence on people who are working at the VA. It's that if they're licensed in Louisiana, they
Right.
have to meet all the qualifications of licensure
Renewal.
of Louisiana.
Mhm.
There must have been a reason that this was put in, though, I would assume.
Well, again, I think we have a long-standing, let's say the Louisiana licensee is in, for example, the National Guard,
Mhm.
and they are then deployed to active duty, and he's in a hospital in Afghanistan.
Mhm.
During that time he's deployed to active duty, we do not require them to do the CEs because they're actively due. Now, this probably needs to be rewritten to say what we want them to say. And again, I think we need to change. If you want to keep it in for the active duty people to keep their license current, because the one thing you don't want to do to an active duty military person who is deployed is take their
Right.
license away because they didn't meet the criteria.
No, I agree. Mhm.
And so I think maybe what we need to be able to say is, rather than change it, employed exclusively by or at an institution operated by them, say on active duty military service. And then we can keep it for the people, because what you really want to be able to say is, if the person is working at the VA and he has a Louisiana license, that means he can go and moonlight at your hospital. But when they're outside of the VA, they haven't done their CEUs. Okay.
Mhm.
So again, I think we want to say what we wanted to say, and that is, if you're licensed, if they're required to keep a Louisiana license, you got to do your CEUs.
Correct.
But if you're deployed on active military service, we won't require that. Maybe that's the way we say it.
Agree.
Okay,
Any
so
discussion?
now it will just say continuing professional education requirements prescribed by the subchapter for renewal of licensure shall not be applicable to a respiratory therapist deployed on active duty military service.
Yeah.
This is going to be really a dumb question, but if you're in the reserves for the National Guard and then you get called up, you get switched to active duty, right?
Correct.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure, I would consider that active duty if they
Yeah,
get
no, I agree. I just
So
didn't
that
know if it
bench-
was like your designated different.
If
Okay.
if your unit is deployed, you're active duty.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, good catch.
All right, Sheila, any more on that section?
No, I'm satisfied.
Okay, do you have anything else you'd like to bring up?
2575. Hang on just a second. So across the state of the- 2575, and this is the last one, okay. 2575A, supervision of students. This is word smurfing again. Okay, it reads, a person pursuing a course of study leading to registry in respiratory care shall engage in the practice of respiratory care, excuse me, only under supervision, blah, blah, blah. Should it maybe read something like, a person pursuing a course of study leading to a degree in respiratory therapy rather than registry in respiratory care?
That's what you want.
Yes, because when we were initially did the rules a few years back, we were tending towards it being the ORT is our minimum level, which would be the registry. So yeah,
Right.
A
good catch
degree
on
in
that one.
respiratory therapy or respiratory care?
Respiratory care.
Respiratory care.
Okay,
Okay.
Sheila?
I think that's all I have.
I did have that one other issue about that we were talking about in 5505. I know we've discussed this a few times regarding the initials in C. So it's unauthorized practice. And so it's a whole bunch of prohibitions on something. So we rewrote C to put in, I mean, to
Oh,
to
yeah.
make it negative, as a prohibition, no person shall hold themselves out. But when I was looking at the NBRC, there's more than just these two. So there's like 7 or 8 different types of advanced practice, I don't know, or like certifications that you could take. So we're kind of left with a couple of options. We could keep it like this, where it's a prohibition of just these two. We could get rid of it altogether and just if people want to talk about it, they can talk about it. And if they don't want to talk about it, they don't have to put it on there because it's more of a billing issue or something, maybe. Or we could say no person shall hold themselves out to have, clear, how would we say it? Like credentials without being credentialed or something like that. No person shall hold themselves out as a specialized respiratory care practitioner without being credentialed by the NBRC.
On the NBRC.
Yeah, I think that's probably the best way to.
Yeah, because the NBRC not only has a lot of credentials right now, they're going to have more as we go along.
Yeah, so we don't want to limit it to just these two.
Correct.
And then we also want people to be able to say it, I guess. So I don't know how y'all want to say that. We can say something.
I mean, no person shall hold oneself out as a licensed respiratory therapist without being credentialed by the NBRC. I don't know.
Is there a term for the different, like advanced practices? Are they specialized practices? Are they advanced practices like nurses have? Or like, is there a name for like the grouping of those tests?
Diana?
Diana, I don't think so.
No, and again, I mean, what you've got down there is okay. And I think it sums it up. The piece that is crossed out in red, again, evolving years ago, was how could the person use the credentialed, or how would somebody know that I actually took the certification exam and was certified? And then I didn't go back and pay my $25 a year and submit my 10 CEUs. So I fell out of grace with the NBRC. What's in the red that's crossed out was allowing this individual to actually put something behind their name saying, I am a licensed respiratory therapist at the certified or registry level. Again, when I renew, of course, I'm older than dirt, I don't have to recertify with the MBRC. But the newer graduates that come out have to submit money in CEUs every year to be able to say they're RRT. Okay, they have to say that. There is nothing on our licensure renewal form that says, are you in good standing with the MBRC? Nothing.
Okay, so
On initial licensure, I have to be, but nothing after that.
So we
And
could-
that stuff that was written there was giving them a way that they could sign off on medical documentation and look like they had credentials. Because the MBRC says thou shalt not use those credentials unless you pay me $25 a year and submit your CEUs.
But they also
I-
allow people like you to be grandfathered in to not have to pay, right?
Well, they did. And I can't remember, it was between 2002, 2004 when this first came out. So it has been, it has been in existence for, over 20 years. And again, being in education, you would have thought paying $25 to the MBRC and then having to pay whatever they had to the LSBME was just killing them financially. I mean, it was just, and they knew they had to carry their license from the LSBME, but some of them blew off this other. And so I think what you're reading there, it was, and again, this was before electronic medical records came along, and then Blake Nolan and Raymond can speak more to this. Since then, I think the HR departments may follow their good standing by the MBRC. So if I wasn't in good standing with the MBRC and I was working for Blake Nolan, I might get a nasty gram that I better pay, and it's really pay up, because all they wanted was 6 CEUs a year, and they said they would take anything the state took. So all they have to do is upload what they upload for the LSBME, and they're good to go on the CEUs. It's paying the $25 annual fee.
Dr. Van, and Diana, the year that went into effect for the credential maintenance program with the MBRC was anybody that was credentialed after July 1st, 2002.
Okay.
I'd like to comment that whether or not the NBCRT does this any way they want to do it to certify, do we think and do we want to say that in order to maintain a Louisiana license, you should be currently certified by the NBCRT?
Certified.
Or,
In other
It's
words,
required as part of their employment agreement with me.
well, Blake, I understand that individuals may do it that way. But with the advent of telehealth and all the things that are coming into the state, people that aren't, that are doing various and sundry things, does the advisory committee think it is in the best interest of the protection of the public to say that to maintain a Louisiana license, you must be currently certified by the NBCRT?
You can't do that.
I will tell you, there are some states out there, and I don't know which ones offhand, that do require that you be current with the MBRC for renewals.
And this is going to be coming up because as you move into, if we get into the compact, we get into people that are doing telehealth in Louisiana. They may not be certified, and then they're doing telehealth. So I think it might be a good standard, and we can then correct the application issue to say, please provide us with your current certification, evidence of current certification, and that way we can maintain that level of protection to the public.
Yeah, I mean, I think going forward, both of those things you mentioned, Dr. Van, it's going to be all but required. for us to participate in any type of compact, to have a standard to fall back on. So, yeah.
I will.
It is required. So in 2507A5, possess current credentials as certified or registered respiratory therapist as granted by the NBRC or its predecessor or successor organization.
Yeah, but Lauren, that's for the initial licensure.
Right.
So if you go back and look at renewal, it don't go back and ask you that anymore.
We will make it happen. Believe me, I will make it happen. I have a note already.
Oh, but go back down, go back up, Lauren. Stop. Go back, go up, stop. Okay, go ahead. I got what I needed.
Do we have a renewal section or is that just on the application? We don't ask it.
I'd
It's
have to-
not
let me
it's
search the
not
document.
asked.
Let me search the
Um,
document for renewal.
Because for renewal, it's my understanding for renewal, you need to still maintain all the requirements of initial licensure plus CEUs. Like you can't, I know this is kind of small, but like you can't be 18. I mean, you get your initial license and then you become of bad moral character. Like you still have to meet all the requirements of initial licensure at every renewal.
Right.
That's my understanding. And
And-
if we're not asking it, we'll ask it, but we'll make sure it's there.
Yeah, and that also is incorporated in the possess current credentials.
And we'll just ask it on the renewal application. We're redesigning, just so you'll know, we are redesigning all of the renewal applications. And they're going to all be, we're adding a few things to every one of them. So don't, it's easy enough to do it while we're doing it.
Alrighty, what's next?
All right, any other committee member have any questions on any sections that in the revisions? So Dr. Van or Lauren, what's our next steps?
Dr. Lauren will draft this up, put it in the proper language form for meets the requirements of the APA. Hopefully we can get it to the board for this meeting. If the board approves it at this meeting, we'll then file what's called a notice of intent. First, we'll do the fiscal and economic impact statement. When that's approved, we file a notice of intent. At the time the notice of intent occurs, they'll have an opportunity. Anybody who wants to have a hearing on this can ask for it. If they ask for the hearing, we'll have a hearing. They can send us public comments. And so then after the public comment period is closed, the board will relook at the public comments and decide if we need to make any changes or not. If no changes are made, then it goes to the Attorney General's program for occupational licensing to make sure that there's no antitrust implications in it. If that gets passed, then it comes back for notice of final intent. And at that point, anybody can request an oversight hearing by either the Senate or the House Health and Welfare and say, well, we think this is wrong, and they can discuss it. And then if the House and Welfare Committee can decide we're going to go along with what the board originally proposed, or we're going to ask the board to change it. And if we do, we change it. And then we go on to the next step of getting it approved and then getting it signed by the governor. Did I forget anything, Lauren?
Nope, that's all. So, I mean, it could take 6 months or so to go through the whole process, given the holidays coming up, because each step takes about a few weeks because it goes to, it gets sent to an agency where there's, a whole list of people. And then I'm also going out on maternity leave at the end of October. But Patricia and Dr. Van will be here to shepherd this whole thing through too.
All right, does anyone have any further questions on the rules and regs before we move on?
Lauren, could you send us a clean copy once you get it?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm just going to update the clean copy that we had with these new changes, and then it will be on the September agenda. So the board has to vote on it. I can't imagine that they'll, you know, have too much of an issue with it. But if there's any changes that they want to make, we can make those, and then it'll go to the legislature.
Now,
Thank
let me
you.
ask you this, did you all want to see the final draft before we send it to the board?
I think that's what I was asking for, just to make sure everything we discussed today got, put
Well, then
in.
you'd have to have another meeting and it will be delayed until October.
Oh,
I mean, we could send it to you, and then if you have any individual like
You can't
nitpicky
discuss it
things,
among yourselves. You can't call each other and talk about it.
yeah, just review it for typos, for wordsmithing, stuff like that, and then I'll BCC it to y'all, like blind copy it, so we don't have any email chains. And then just send it back to me and just say like, hey, this is missing a period, or this is could be worded differently. And as long as they're not substantive, we shouldn't need anything else. But if there's like a glaring omission or something like that, we might have to call an emergency meeting, or we can just make the changes at the board meeting.
All right. Is there any public comment, Dr. Van?
Let me double check. There is no public comment at this time, sir.
All right, we'll move on to item 3 on the public session agenda, the CJIS certification. I'm assuming everyone got that in their emails. I did. It is the Criminal Justice Information Services Security and Privacy Training. I'm assuming everyone gets that, Dr. Van, on the committee?
Everybody has to do it, yes, or you will not be able to participate in issues relative to discipline in the executive session.
How long is it good for?
2 years.
Okay, because I haven't seen an email recently with it in there, but I do remember taking it.
It's every
Who
2
would
years.
know? How would I find out if I'm up to date on this?
Send me an email and I'll run it through the people that need to do it for you.
Okay.
And if
And
you
make
got
it
an email about it, you could log into with your login for it. I had to reset my password and everything too. And then on that screen, it tells you, like on their homepage for the CJIS, it tells you when it expires. And it's like 20, 30 minutes, and it's not too, like all the quizzes are kind of like open book, it's a learning exercise more than a test.
All righty. Item number 4 on the agenda, compact licensure. I just wanted to let the committee know that I did attend the meeting of the Respiratory Care Interstate Compact that was hosted by the Council of State Governments on August the 19th on behalf of the LSRC. Dr. Van and Ms. Wilton was there on behalf of the LSBME. So a lot of information, a lot more to come. I'll tell you, it's not as easy in stone as it would appear. There was a lot of good conversation, and I'm going to be working with Dr. Van and Ms. Wilton and whoever else at the board as we see what will need to be done before this legislation can be put forward. I will let you know there was a representative. They invited all representatives from the United States that served on the Health and Welfare Committees. And we did have one from the Shreveport area, Representative Jackson, who was present. And, he said he'd help us in any way he could. So we're in conversations with him. I have a meeting coming up next month, if I'm not mistaken, with the Council of State Governments and the representative, and I think the LSBME may be on it as well. So, a lot more to come when I can get some definites to present, to the LSRC and back to the advisory committee. Dr. Van, did I leave anything out?
No, I just think we're getting into the, how do I want to say, the philosophical construct of, once we pass the law, is the ability of the law to change substantially approved by the state government in Louisiana? And the answer to that is no. And I think that's where the governor came down on the veto for the dietitians, which has kind of upset the entire compact community. And I think that it is a problem. The governor has rightly identified a problem. And again, I think it's an issue with the compact drafters that they don't think it's a problem. But I can tell you that we have seen compacts change substantially. For example, we used to have discipline that was shared, and now it's no longer shared discipline in some of the compacts. The respiratory therapy compact, which is forming right now, wanted us to send all of the licensees' personal information and other data such as social security numbers, addresses, and all that up to them to maintain in their database, even if they were never going to get a compact license. And they actually, if you, Raymond, you remember, they talked about doing that for respiratory care as well. And we did voice a concern about that, because I don't think you want your data going someplace that you don't know it is, number one, where if it leaks out, it's not us that did it, but we sent it to them. And actually, we have Louisiana law that requires us two things about your data. We cannot bulk send it to anybody, so we can't send everybody's. That's one thing the law provides. And we have to send it as an individual, and we have to do it in a secure manner. So that's why we've been pushing the API concept. And the API concept basically is one computer talks to the other computer, and the data is removed for an individual at one time. And it's all under high security and interchange of data. And that way we meet the Louisiana law. And ultimately, the occupational therapy compact came around and changed that as people began to look at it. And we strive to make sure we protect your data like everybody else's. And so those are the kind of things we'll be addressing and hammering out.
More to come on that. And one thing that came out of the meeting, I'll give the state board a little kudos on people applying for licensure, or their initial licensure. What's our average turnaround time, Dr. Van, at the board now?
It's under 20 days.
Listening to some of them people, other state representatives there, some have taken 30 to 60 to 90 days. So and I just wow, and I thought, ours was a little long or whatever. And it was to listen to some of them stories, and some of those are my colleagues that I know personally from the National Organization for Respiratory Care that were making these comments. So I think, we're doing a very good job in Louisiana. May have some hiccups along the way, but for the most part, listening to some of the other states, I think we're doing very well in getting initial licensure, people who are applying for initial licensure. So.
And if I
Unless
may,
anybody,
just to talk about some of the wisdom our legislature has exempted and made provisions for two groups in the last 3 years, one of which is our military. We have a very abbreviated get to work process for our military pathway. So if you're coming in as the dependent or the spouse of an active duty military person in Louisiana, we do a quick verification of your military ID, a criminal background check, and the ability to your license in the other state to make sure it's unrestricted. We grant them a provisional license, and that's a law that was changed by Representative Owen. And we've worked with him in designing that process and make sure he was happy. And then we do the regular process of collecting all the data like we always do. And then at that point, if they've been TDY'd and they move before we finish, it's a wash. If then they get their license anyway, if we all do it in a timely fashion. And then the other thing that passed a session recently was the Welcome Home Act. So let's say you are a Louisiana graduate, a Louisiana kid, decides to move to Missouri and practice, and then you want to come home. We have an abbreviated process exactly similar to the military to get them back at work in Louisiana. It's called the Welcome Home Act. We still do all the same things, but we get them to work on a provisional permit, provisional license, actually, we call it, while we get all the data. And that was another law that was passed. And so we actually have thanks to Representative Owen, quite frankly, who taught us this about the military, we're actually doing better than some of the compacts are. And a lot of the compacts are going to be needless because of the way we do it now. We're actually getting people to license in Louisiana faster and shorter than some of the compacts, fewer information. So it's a wash sometimes, but again, we have state law and we're driving it to be as efficient as we can.
All righty. Is there any public comment, Dr. Van?
There are no public comments at this time, Mr. Raymond.
Okay, I would advise on your calendar invites for the work groups that we have. I think it's the third Tuesday of the month. You can go ahead and take those off your calendars because we won't be meeting anymore for the rules and regs unless we have to have an emergency meeting if Ms. Lauren finds something that we need to talk about. Our next regular meeting will be December the 8th, which is already a scheduled meeting. Want to thank everybody for their time and effort and being able to make these calls to get to where we have gotten with the rules and regs. Thank y'all very much.
Thank you.
Thanks,
All
everyone.
righty.
I put a lot of work into this.
Listen, we appreciate all the comments, the discussions. It helps us to understand, A, what you want, B, what the community needs, and we couldn't do it without you all. We really couldn't. Lauren's a great drafter and she got a lot of insight. And we try and make sure it works for you all. And that's what we wanted to do. And we thank you for all your input.
Yeah, and as we said, like I'll send around another clean copy. Take a look at it. Nothing is too nitpicky. Send me a list of everything you think that we should change and that we can miss because like I said, I'm going out on maternity leave, so my pregnancy brain is in full force. So if y'all see something like a typo or something like that, don't hesitate to point it out. And because we want to get it in the best shape possible for the register.
I
All
wanted to
right,
ask
thank you.
for,
I'm
for
sorry.
for those modules that we need to get done. I need to. Is that the ones that we're talking about for the executive sessions? The one that you mentioned
Yes,
earlier?
the CJIS is for executive session information.
Got you. Okay. I
And
might have to.
basically, it has to do with the FBI and the federal government is very sensitive to who can look at criminal background checks, who can look at those kind of issues. And since we frequently have issues of criminal background checks that you all review and make recommendations on, we have to be compliant with that to protect the data. I'll tell you how bad it goes. Once we get the criminal background check, we simply in the licensing system basically just put cleared and nothing else. We don't put any information. And then we actually air gap the storage of the digital data so that nobody can get to it even through our network. It's on a removed disk that doesn't exist in the network. So we have to comply with all these federal regulations. And for you to review it, you have to comply as well.
All right, no problem. I just want to make sure I want to make sure I'm also compliant. So
let's see, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna ask Tracy right now. Tracy will send a message to Al and ask Alan to send an email to all of you all or send it back to Tracy with all of this, the links to sign up and check your valid participation in that program. And we'll get it to you that way. And that way it'll be easier for you to get it done.
perfect.
Tracy,
I
can you handle that for us?
Yes, sir. I'm sending the email now.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you so much.
You're welcome.
Well, again, I thank you all for your participation. I really do. It's been helpful and a great deal.
Thank you. Y'all have